Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Activate and Illuminate podcast with Mel. I'm your host, Mel. Together, we're going to be diving into some stories of ordinary people doing a little bit of extraordinary things. People who've maybe pushed their bodies, their mindsets, or maybe society's paradigms. So you're going to find yourself maybe wanting to laugh, cry, or even be inspired. We would invite you to share, like, and subscribe, to sign up for our newsletter as well on activateandilluminate.com. Now, just keep in mind that this information that you are going to hear is informational and educational for entertainment purposes only. This does not constitute professional advice of any kind. The views expressed are those of myself and guests only. Listeners are encouraged to seek professional and legal advice regarding their own situations. So, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time, and thanks again for being here. Hey there, everyone. Thanks for being here today. So today, I have with us Jessica Rueger from the East Coast of the United States. Now, she is an accomplished author. She's a coach. She has all different types of ways to help us. But most of all, what I was connected to Jessica for was her authentic spirit and just way of being. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here, Melanie.
Yeah. So, we have so much stuff to get into and talk about. And I feel like we already have so many different synchronicities that have connected us together. But one of the questions that I wanted to start off with you is, this is what I know that you do for people. And I want you to tell us right out of the gate how you help people see the truth of who they are.
It's a very experiential process. So when someone is sitting across from me, like here on Zoom, for people that live out of town, or across from me in the room behind us, I really ask them a lot of questions, because oftentimes we live in our head in this narrative of who we were taught to be and what we should be and how we're supposed to show up, what we're supposed to say, what a worthy person would do, what a good enough person would do. And when you start asking the questions, eventually we have to dig a little deeper for the answers. And once we dig deep enough for the answers, we start to access something that is far greater than what we know between our ears. And that really reveals truth to people. So it's being a very active listener and being shown which question to ask and the next question to ask, and then just letting the energy and the guidance guide me to them answering the question that really opens up this new space within them to reveal the truth of who they are to themselves and to be able to be in the energy of that.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your book and how you started it, why you were led to it. Was it something that was created outside of yourself that you had to get down on paper? Or tell us a little bit about the process and just how that went for you.
The book was actually a transformative process where I was learning how to love myself. And I never really understood that concept. I'd heard a lot of people say, well, you just have to love yourself. And I'd be like, yeah, but how do I do that? And then through a series of relationships, I ended up in my most recent marriage that ended actually in 2021. I was realizing how codependent I was, and I did not want to be codependent. When I heard about codependency, I was like, that's not me. And so I resisted and denied that I was codependent because I felt I was hyper independent. So how can I be both? And so I realized that I was very codependent, and I realized that I was looking for approval and validation and love because I wasn't really experiencing it within myself. And so I was coaching and learning a lot through the coaching process. It's such a exponential growth process to be a coach. You're learning about yourself. You're learning from your clients. You're learning through the dynamics your clients are having with the people they're relating to. And I decided to host what I called How to Really Love Yourself workshop at my house. And it was very well attended and very well received. And the feedback was extraordinary. And so from there, I then created an online course because I wanted to be an online course person. And so I went through the whole process of doing that, and it really didn't do so well, but I am in talks of reviving that course and elevating that course and offering it again. But then it just sat kind of dormant for a while. And then I got the idea to translate all of what I had done before and put it into a manuscript. And then I did that, and it sat for quite a while. And then on the heels of my separation, I decided I was taking a class. It was a writing class that Sarah Henderson offers, and it was called the Writer's Portal. And my friend Rachel Glowacki invited me to join her. And someone in that course was actually an editor. And I got a lot of great feedback on my writings, none of which was coming from the manuscript, but it really revived this idea to write this book, to finish it, to follow all the way through. And one of my clients is an incredible designer, and she designed the jacket and the back cover and the whole everything inside the book. And so that's how it actually came to be.
So when you said that, I questioned what this process, and you said you didn't know how to love yourself. So what has this changed in you? How have you been able to change that inside of you?
It began with really getting curious about how I was showing up for me. I always knew how I wanted other people to show up for me and how I wanted love from them. And this process of really getting curious about how am I showing up for me? How am I showing up to create the experiences I want to be having? And I started to notice that a lot of my attention was just being sent out there for some approval, validation, acceptance, safety. And I just started to be aware of how much I was causing my own suffering, my own angst, my own anxiety, or my own dependency on someone else needing to be a certain way. Done quite a bit of work, but what I hadn't really tuned into was like, I'm responsible to myself for the experience I want to be having at any given moment. And if I give that responsibility to someone else, I'm at the mercy of the way they do it. And so to really claim my own ability to respond to what was happening in my life, and to do it in a way that was loving, respectful, and allowed me to have the experience I wanted to be having and allow myself to know what I want. So it was like really tapping into these places within myself that I hadn't really accessed as profoundly as going through this process in a marriage. By the way, the way that I would respond to my husband at the time, the way that I would respond to his ex-wife at the time, or anyone in our community, I was starting to see that I had these expectations that weren't being met in certain ways. And it taught me something about myself when I wasn't making it about the other.
What did it teach you?
It taught me that this book that I read shed a lot of light on it, and coaches that I worked with shed a lot of light on it. But have you ever heard of the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz?
Yeah, 100%.
It taught me that I was taking predominantly everything personally. I was making everything about me, and I didn't know another way to be. It always seemed like it was about me. I was so consumed with my stuff and my problems and my wants and my needs, and not allowing myself to get them met, or getting upset with others when they wouldn't meet them. And so that book really did open some gates for me to start to get more reflective and more contemplative on how I was showing up for myself in the moments where no one was there to perform for. And so in any given moment, if I was doing something, I started to ask myself, like, what is my intention for doing this? Who am I when nobody's around? What do I like to do when nobody's here to take care of? And it started just to show me more and more of, this is very revealing. Like, who are you doing this for? Are you doing it for you? Or are you doing it for validation? Are you doing it for acceptance? And when I started to make my own acceptance of myself important and value it, it started to show me a different way of being in the quiet moments with myself.
That's so, to anybody that's listening and they're like, okay, well, that's great. Now she accepts herself, but I don't know how. I don't know what to do. What was it in that book that was like, that made you shift your mindset and your direction?
Creating the experiences I wanted to be having, and knowing what that experience was. I want to have this experience with this person, for example. This is what I want to experience. Like, for example, the experience I want to have on this podcast is a nice connection and to benefit people. And then if I decide that that's what I want to do, and then it's up to me to create that and contribute to that. And then as I started to do that, I started to actually genuinely like myself because I was creating the things that I wanted. I was getting first real time experience of creating something that I wanted. And that would show me where the power is. And it wasn't in other people and then getting them to get it for me, that I could actually create what I wanted. I could create, writing the book was a real creative process. It was an act of self-discipline in a devoted sense. But I think that when it really comes down to it, as I'm being shown right now, it was really me seeing that I could create. And I was like, look at her, look at me. I can contribute to the experience I want to be happy. And that started to raise my sense of self and self-esteem, if you will, and confidence in myself. And it wasn't like performance based. It was just this like, I have this ability to create. And I always thought my whole happiness was dependent on somebody else being able to give me something or create something for me or show me a great time.
Yeah, I totally get that. I feel like so I've been married almost 30 years, but I feel like the first many, many, many years of my marriage, I remember just feeling how disappointed I was that my expectations of how it could be just a little, simple little thing. They weren't happening exactly how I wanted, and it created so much internal strife in myself and in others because I had this expectation. I totally relate with what you're saying.
Yeah, so it was very experiential and then just starting to accept my own mistakes contributed to me loving myself. Love is a very active, dynamic, experiential process.
Yeah.
And to be able to discover a love that's greater than ourselves too, and to be able to open up and begin to receive that love took my love for myself to a whole nother level. So there's that, the source, the love from source, the universe, that conscious intelligence energy, and to be able to engage with that, because that's part of the creative process. If I wanted to create something, it wasn't coming just from me. It was me tuning into something greater than me and being intuitively guided to what I wanted to create, not create from just my small self, like my ego, and needing it to constantly be, petted and patted and affirmed, but to really begin to open up to that omnipresence and allow myself to co-create with that. And then to be able to receive love, receive that energetic experience that is what I call love, where your heart warms and you feel lighter and you feel connected to that greatness. And like that, I think I fell in love with that which is in all of us and moves through all of us.
I think this is why when I first heard you and experienced you, I was, there's a million life coaches and there's a million people out there right now talking about manifesting and creating and all the rest of it, but and goals and a little bit more of this push energy. And what you just said right there is exactly how I want to create.
Yeah. It truly does get to be easier than we were taught it gets to be. And we all have this unique way of being in the world. And so much of our lives, we're trying to be like somebody else, which is
Hmm.
so the opposite of loving oneself. It's like, I'll be better when I can be more like so and so because I think so and so's got it all figured out. And then we just have a bunch of so and so's running around
And
trying.
none of us have it all figured out.
No. No, when I realized that, I was like, "Oh," with the
Yeah.
relief that was like, "Oh, it's not just me that doesn't know what the heck's going on here."
Yeah. So what would you say you're most proud of in this process?
Getting out of the way, needing the validation, needing the acceptance, needing someone to constantly be affirming that I'm lovable, that I'm acceptable, that I'm worthy, and that I'm good enough. And there's so much freedom in that. And so I'm
Mhm.
really proud that I have let go of enough and learned enough and applied enough to know that I'm creating so much freedom in my life in spite of the circumstances. I can truly say that I'm freer than I've ever been. And it's exquisite. I love it. I love freedom. As a fellow Sag, we just learned that we share a birthday month and day apart. And I just, it's always been about freedom, but I always ran from things that were binding me, which is part of the growth process. I think it's part of the development of learning, what freedom is. And so when I really threaded to this work that I'm sharing with you now, and that I'm so committed to and obsessed with and love more than life itself because it makes life better, is we create our own freedom, and we don't have to run from things to create it. We can actually run towards things and create it, and face things and create it. And the way that we respond to reality itself is, and the way that we're perceiving it is either creating freedom or not. And so to learn how to create freedom in the moment is really extraordinary. That's what I'm most proud of.
So tell me about some moments that you've created freedom in the moment, or had some big things happen that you knew instantly, I created this. I just did this.
It's most evident in the energy. The state of being that I'm in is what I'm getting more masterful at creating. Like, I've created cool stuff, but the stuff that I've created wasn't for the stuff. It was for the experience that I thought the stuff would give me. And so what I'm doing now is creating the experience that I believe I'll have when I have the stuff without needing the stuff. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. So it's like, you've figured out how to create something without the tools required to create it.
Well, they're different tools. Well, yes, we all have these tools within us to create the way that I'm speaking of. It's just that I thought I had to have an external object. Like, I'll be okay when I have this, or
Mm,
I'll be better when I have this, or this, or this.
yeah. Yeah.
And I would get these things and I'd be like, woo, I got the thing. I got the thing. I'm so excited. I got the thing. And then it was back to business as usual. Now I got to create another thing to get that dopamine hit or that
Rush. Yeah.
serotonin, that rush, that adrenaline. And now it's like, part of it's just living as long as I've lived and having wisdom, but it's really this fervor I have for creating. And it's all about the experience for me. So to be able to be okay, no matter what's happening in my life, and learning those tools, it's like, it's not the thing that gives me the experience I want to be having. It's me that has the power to create the experience I want to be having. And that changed everything, regardless, whether it's in conflict with my son's father, and knowing that I can create the experience I want to be having, and it's not conflict. So what is it? So I choose something that's better than conflict. Choose connection, fun, enjoyable conversation. And as long as I'm being loyal to myself and in the experience I want to commit, and don't go off the rails and some old behavior that gets tripped up and I get activated or triggered because of that, and want to be right and want to be in control or want to have power over, I've got to let go, sacrifice, if you will, those former ways of being so that I can access the truth of what I really want to experience. And then noticing, being aware enough in the moment to see, like, oh, I could respond to this way or this way. Which one's going to get me what I really want? And then going with that energy. And that's also a form of self-love, because it's me giving myself the experience I want to be having, which is such a loving act.
Just as you're saying that, we can apply that to anything. We can apply that to business. We can apply that to family. We can apply that to just about it. But if we all came at it from that perspective of what experience am I wanting to create? What experience, what feelings am I wanting to have? And feeling those first, wow, the world would be a different place.
Yeah, it's a big mission to, I think we all kind of have a little bit of that seed in us, like, I want to change the world. And then I'm a big fan of the words of Gandhi, which is, be the change you want to see in the world. So it's fruitless to go change the world if you haven't done the internal changes within yourself to have real-time experience and what that actually requires. And then knowing that I get to work with people and that they get to benefit from it. And then the people that I work with get to embody it, integrate it, apply it, and not necessarily in that order. And then the people in their lives get to experience it. And that's the best I know how to do right now, is through writing and mentoring and speaking and being on shows like wonderful shows like this.
So, do you think that we are all essentially creating our own realities in real time?
I know it.
Yeah.
I know it because my life is completely different now because I'm creating with the wisdom I'm sharing. I'm creating with my focused attention, my willingness to be present, and my willingness to make a decision, my willingness to have clarity on what it is I actually do want, and the courage to go for it, and to really be an advocate for myself, whether I'm succeeding at it or failing. Because even when I'm failing, I still get to create the experience I want to be having while I'm failing.
So, what are some of your big dreams, Jessica? You've done some great things, but tell us some big excitement. And yeah,
Well, the biggest dream that's scary to talk about is having a syndicated live experience where I can reach hundreds of thousands of millions of people by speaking about this, telling stories, and sharing the failures and the successes of my life in a way that educates, entertains, and enlightens people.
well, that seems possible.
I know it is becoming more possible than when it first came into my awareness, even maybe even probable.
So,
Like
when you said that, what are some of your biggest failures?
relationship breakdowns. Yeah. I love relationship. I love love. And I'm divorced 3 times now. And,
Okay.
call it a failure, but I have learned to reframe failing because I do believe that the only way we can truly fail is if we just completely quit. And I've learned enough to know that the most successful people are the ones that renegotiate the way they interpret experience and move through and capitalize on failure. And so I don't even see that word as the same. But I've failed at my marriages. I think those are the biggest ones that come to mind. The ways that I related with people, broke down relationships, and they also were my greatest teachers because they caused pain. And I think that we can learn a lot in our pain if we're not numbing it and we're really opening up to it and feeling it and expressing it and transforming it, alchemizing it. Great wisdom can come through our pain. And pain in life is, I believe, mandatory. We can't, and if we live a life where we're avoiding pain, then I don't know how good of a life that could possibly be because I've learned so much in my pain, especially in these past 4 years. That was the greatest relationship of my life besides the ones that I have with my children. It was the man that I plan to spend the rest of my life with. And so I didn't leave because there wasn't a great connection. I didn't leave because I didn't love him, which in the past I just left because it wasn't fun anymore.
Right.
And so I'd done a lot of work. And so in these past 4 years, I've remained celibate. I've remained very close to myself and to the work. I'm very much committed to doing my best, even if I'm failing at something. Like my business almost looked like it was about to fail after I built it up to be really extraordinary and successful. Then something shifted and everything I was doing to make it successful wasn't working anymore. So I had to reevaluate, and it was like an identity crisis. And it was like this storm of a bunch of things colliding, external circumstances. So it really, got my attention. And I think that's what's propelled me into the space I'm in now is just like the way that I was being in each one of those collision of storms, which I could have easily failed at. I could have given up. I could have quit and said, I'm just going to go get a job, another job.
Yeah.
And I didn't
Yeah.
because of my passion, like my determination to help other people become this free.
You shared something with me. You've created a daily journal that you share with people as well. Show us that. Tell us
Yes.
about it.
So this is it's just one of my favorite practices, and it's 222 pages, and some of my favorite quotes, which I think I was sharing this with you the other day, like sneak peek, don't screenshot it and look into my world. But like it's got some really powerful quotes in it, and it's a great accompaniment with the book. And everyone that I work with, I encourage, get a journal. And so I was like, why don't I create one? Then I gift everyone their first journal. But this quote here is, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are.
Hmm.
And it's Anais Nin. And yeah, it's a beautiful book. Again, my client, Margaret Seeley, she did this beautiful ombre design as well. It's a powerful way to connect to your stream of consciousness, which is really a super conscious way of receiving information through writing. We can do this through talking. We can do this through painting. We can do this through being out in nature. And journaling has always been just a really profound practice in my life. And shortly after I moved into this house, I got rid of 45 journals that I had collected over the years. Most of them were just ranting and venting, but they were very supportive because I'd much rather rant and vent in a journal than rant and vent to everyone around me. So you're welcome, guys, who spared all that.
Yeah. Um, when people talk about writing their thoughts, I personally find it really hard to write my thoughts on paper. Like, I, I don't know whether it's some of the experiences that I've had, the concussions, the whatever, but I feel like I don't think the same way when I'm writing them down. I think if I can speak my thoughts, I'm good. But do you feel like a lot of people are like that, or do most people have this ability to put their thoughts on paper?
It's interesting to ask that because I don't know personally. I think that the way I was taught to write helped me a lot to get through that because I too would have like writer's block. Like, what if somebody reads this? It needs to be elegant. It needs to be eloquent. It needs to be right. It needs to be good penmanship and all the right things. And so I was trying to do it right. And what I learned was just write, just write, just write and write. Even if you write, I hate writing. I'm having so much resistance to writing. This is crap. I don't know what to say. It feels stupid. This feels forced. I don't like it. No, 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 no. And then eventually you hit a stream of consciousness. Like, when you go out offshore, you eventually hit a Gulf Stream. And I don't know what that does for you, but they talk about it. So I'm going to use
Yeah.
it. But yeah, you hit a stream of consciousness and then you're in the state of what many call innocence, where you're not thinking, you're just being, and you're being with whatever's coming through. And you're just, at that point, you're just the dictator of it. And then you might surprise yourself what comes through when you hit that stream of consciousness. I often do. It's like, wow, where's this coming from? I think a lot of novels are written this way. I think a lot of scripts are written this way. When we can get out of our head and stop trying to get it right,
Mm-hmm.
we reach that super conscious state where it's just a flow of information that surprises us as we're writing it down.
One might say channeled.
Yes. One might say channeled. Yep.
Well, I've heard you say love isn't mystery, it's mastery.
We're saying that, but I love it. Love isn't a mystery, it's mastery. Cool. Yeah, I say a lot of things I forget. I'll tell you that. It is mastery. I think we all master what we value, you know? I value love and I wanted to get better and better at it. And I've always loved the word mastery. I think for different reasons then than I do now. It was more like I wanted to be a master. I wanted to be seen as a master, if I'm being
Okay.
honest.
Okay.
I had a lot of reverence for masters and people who are masters at their craft. And I always identified it as a Jack or Jess of all trades, a master at none. And so I would like dibble dabble everywhere. As a Sag, I was just wanted my hands in everything all the time, all at once. And I never really took the time to like master one thing. And so I think love was the first. And I'm mastering. I think a true master is always mastering anyway. You're never done, right? We're never finished. This masterpiece goes on until we take our last breath. This
Mhm.
art that we're living, creating.
If you could give one blessing to every reader of your book, what would it be?
To be curious enough, to open enough to receive the highest quality of love that's available to you. And to open up and receive that would be to feel that, experience it as a sensation throughout your heart, and the healing effect and the lightness and the warmth, and that it's constant and it's always there for us. The blessing would be to have the experience of it. May you have the experience of it.
What surprised you the most about writing this book?
That so many surprises. What was the one that surprised me the most? That I would be afraid of people reading it. I think that surprised me the most. Always wanted to write a book and then to write it and be like, what if they don't like it? What if no one buys it? What if it's shit? What if, those trippy little words, like I really thought, wow, what if it's no good? What if it doesn't live up to the beautiful cover?
Yeah.
That surprised me because while I was writing it, never really had that thought. But once it was published and anybody could buy it, I was like, what if this is not like, what if it is a complete opposite of what I'm here? What if it has the opposite effect of everything I'm here to create?
Yeah, and when you say that, I hear not what if it is no good, but what if, what if I'm not enough? What if I didn't do a good enough job? And I'm
Sure.
sure that is not the case.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And regardless, it's like when you put something out into the world and it's done. There's no like you can't go back into Instagram and edit it.
Do you still feel that? Do you still feel that that doubt about it?
Not now, but I did have doubts when it first went out, and I did have doubts, and I did have it re-edited, um, and cleaned some up because there were mistakes. But then I made peace with the mistakes because a lot of books are being written through AI now. So I was like, oh, that really humanizes my book. There's actual
Yeah.
mistakes in it. And so, and I've just evolved so much from the whole process that I really have this energy of I'm all in. If someone doesn't like it, I'm all in for me that I did my best and not everybody's gonna like it. Like it's a very specific reader that's gonna like it on a very specific part of their journey. And so it's not up to me who likes it or doesn't like it. What's up to me is that I did my best and
Mhm.
I'm willing to face whatever criticism comes. I know that a lot in my life I think that I've unconsciously played small to avoid criticism. And I'm learning through self love and just really being able to master myself in the moment and create the experience I want to be having in the moment that I can handle pretty much anything anyone may have to say to me or about the book or about something I've done past, present, or future. And that's really another gateway to freedom is I'm no longer
Mm.
scared about the criticism, the haters, if you will. I see it all the time on social media, and it's out of hand. And I want to be somebody that can show people that no matter what people say about you, it's up to you whether you take it on board or not. And
Huh.
so I'm willing to face that. In fact, I've made some pretty big claims like, I am willing to accept the consequences of having a lot of money. I'm willing to accept the consequences. I am willing to learn through the effects of my book becoming a bestseller. Like I am willing to learn, like I know what it's like to be over here. I am willing to learn what it's like to be over here. And all that includes being criticized, being judged, being called XYZ.
What a great perspective.
This episode brought to you by protandemcanada.lifevantage.com. What if you could turn on your body to work like it was supposed to? What if you could have it remember how to handle toxins, stress, and the environment like it used to when you were young? What if it worked for your pets too? What if this is not about supplementing something that is missing, but activating something that has gone dormant? About actually turning on your body to make these things again. Learn how to activate your body now. Check us out, protandemcanada.lifevantage.com.
Yeah. So for people that are, out there in like, I feel like none of us have the ability to necessarily see our full and true potential because it just changes the more it compounds. And I had this experience this weekend where I was thinking about a particular situation and how it had just bloomed and blossomed, and realizing that the people involved, back when they started that vision, would have had no concept of the importance of it or of the ability of it to grow and flourish, because at the time, like they would never even have wanted it, right? Like, and it is just like expanded in ways that are beyond sometimes our own creation. And so I know myself, I have a lot of the same doubts and fears and stuff. I have I still do, but like this social media thing and showing up on social media, and now, here I am on a podcast every freaking week, and people, like Riverside and all this AI, you can't be scared of what you're going to look like, or because it always freezes my face as like, it's always the worst possible position that will ever be portrayed of you. But this idea of our potential and that we can't possibly see it and that we're just kind of constantly tiptoeing or maybe leaping or maybe diving our way into something that we can't see, but that is unfolding for us as we get there.
This makes me so excited. Yeah, this is the thing that lights me up the most is how we get this idea and we have a vision for it to come to fruition. And then we just take a step and another step, whether it's a leap, as you say, or a dive or a tiptoe. Either way, it's one at a time. And
Yeah.
how revealing those steps can be, because each step is preparing us for the next step to be revealed to us. So I have this thing that I keep saying, which is like, this moment is preparing us for the next moment. It's preparing us for the next moment. And you're right. Like, and in that creation, we're becoming simultaneously, we are creating this thing and we are being created.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And one of my mentors says that leaders are bridges and bridges are tested. And how I interpret that is, when I'm going for something and I'm creating something, and to your point, it's like we're becoming people who can hold the power of that which we're creating, the rejection of it, the celebration of it, the success of it, the failure of it. Like, we have to be able to hold a certain amount of energy. And I think that energy is expanding. Our consciousness is expanding. We are evolving so that when that creation comes to fruition, we've been created along the way to be able to hold the duality of it, the polarity of it, if it goes great of it, if it goes poorly of it. And that's, I think, the thing that I never really considered is I just think about the thing I want and who that's going to make me be by having the thing, but it's who we become along the way. It's like, that's the real creation. That other thing is for everybody else to be able to have as a product or a service. But the most powerful creation is the creation of the humanity and the embodied divinity, and how that impacts all of us, in our relationships and our businesses, and ripples out into the world. Like, we're little beacons, lighthouses.
I just was thinking, like, how you feel about the word goals or the idea of goals.
It's probably semantics, but I think it's a very masculine word. And I love visions and outcomes and results and end results, as I was taught from coaches. William Whitecloud, Mark DeFrancia taught me a lot about end results. And they were both men, but they also were men that would use intuition and guidance and vision. And so goals to me feels a little empty, unless you really define what the goal is. It's less empty. But again, semantics maybe.
So you talked a little bit about your relationships. As a parent, what do you think this work that you're doing for yourself, what do you think that it's imparting onto your child or children? And is there any part of the creation of this that is, I see it as a gift for your child?
Yeah, I have two, actually. I have a 29-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old boy at the time of this recording. And I see that my daughter has so much respect for herself and sets a healthy standard for herself and holds herself to that standard. And I'm really proud of her. Like, she and I both hit the 6-figure mark at the same year. Like, she's significantly younger than me. And it was like so wild to have hit the mark and her hit the mark. And it was like, wow, that's extraordinary. And just really seeing her like not settle and be really devoted to having the relationship that she wants and not just getting into a relationship to be in a relationship. So she has a really healthy self-esteem. And so I see that impact. Like, that's evidence that I can see. My husband is my husband's son, my ex-husband's son. He's very intelligent. My kids were born 3 days apart, 16 years and 3 days apart. So they're both Virgos. And my daughter was born on my mom's birthday, which I thought was a really interesting experience. Call it karma. That's a cool thing there that happened. But my son is very insightful and intuitive and strong-willed, and I would say unabusable. He has this unabusable energy. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't take anything and he calls you out if you're not being your authentic self. But I came
Mhm.
across this the other day and I showed it to him. I don't know when he wrote this because there's no date on here, but it's a younger handwriting. And he wrote, "It doesn't define me if I lose one game and reward my positive. Find the lesson. When someone I love is winning, I'm winning." And I think that answers your question too.
Wow, what a insight. I feel like these children that are coming in now, I mean, they're not coming in for us to teach them. They're coming in to teach us.
I agree. And I wonder if it's always been that way, Melanie.
Mhm.
And now we're just aware that children are far more here than to be seen and not heard, right? Like that was one generation. And then it's just incredible to me when I'm present and I'm aware and I'm in that state of being that I prefer to generate within myself. Like it's beautiful. It's beautiful to witness them, to engage with them, to see them, to hear them and the way they create and how unconditioned they are. And it seems like maybe the more accurate thing is not unabusable, but unconditionable.
Ooh, unconditionable. I feel like that's a power move in today's society. That
Yeah.
is the superhero cape.
Yeah, because the one I'm trying to wear now or am attempting to wear now is to decondition, to let people like the process is like decondition yourself. You have
Mm,
the power to decondition yourself, to let go of who you were told you should be or what you should do or how you should behave according to the standards that we were raised in how many ever years ago, and to really create the conditions that you
mhm.
want, the program you want to operate under. Create your
Yeah,
own operating system.
yeah. So what are some mistakes that you made with your kids?
I made a mistake with my daughter where I had her sit in front of a mirror and eat so she could see how much she smacked her lips together. Because I would invite her and remind her. And I did that, and she still remembers that. I think she thanks me for it now because she's glad she doesn't do that still. But at the same time, I wasn't aware enough at the time how potentially shaming that could be. And so I think I've shamed my kids unknowingly and learned from those for sure. It saddens me to think of how less conscious I was when I was raising my daughter than I am raising my son. When I had my daughter, I was married to a doctor. Her dad was a doctor, and I just ascribed to all of the medical advice. And, you know, I had witnessed my mom having her son, my little brother, at home when I was in the third grade, but I wasn't going to do that. I was going to have all the bells and whistles, the Pitocin, the epidural, if they wanted to plug it into me and prick it into me and hook me up to it and feed it to me, I was going to take it. No questions asked. I just deferred to that knowledge. And then when I had my son, I had learned more about home birthing. And so I had him without any of that at all, nothing. I had a home birth. Midwife came to the house, and it was pretty much just me and my son's dad and, the guiding support from the sidelines. And so I wouldn't say that it was a failure to have my daughter that way because I believed in that system. And because of my belief in that system worked, which I think the
Mhm.
power of belief is really, really something to consider and not be cast aside. But as far as more mistakes, just reaction, I would be in reaction and I would say things that were more about my own comfort or what I thought they should be doing. And I'm wondering now as I'm saying that is why that became so important to me to learn how to respond to everything. Because responding to my children is really important that I respond to them in a way that is what they deserve, in a way that to them that is what I deserve, that we deserve, and all people deserve. It's like it's a luxury to learn. It's a luxury now to be able to respond the way that I do because reacting caused a lot more pain for myself and whoever I was in reaction to. And so being in reaction with them when what they really needed was my love and my presence and my attention.
Mhm. That hits. I feel like even just when you say the reaction, I can feel that those feelings of angst that I used to have and just how I would overreact and, blame. And, I think there was a lot of shame. And, I would say overall I was a good mom, but I had moments of just so much internal angst that it came out in ways that were not good for my kids. I think we
Yeah.
all do. We all do.
100%. And I'm by no means perfect now. And now when I go into reaction, I see it and I'm willing to correct it. I think really acknowledging how much shame we carry that's undetected, like that we're not aware of, is what we're trying to release when we're in reaction. But when we learn how to be with our shame in a loving way, in a curious way, in a way that's seeing like, I've heard the anagram for shame is should have already mastered everything. Parenting is not something that we're taught other than through the experience of our own parents' parenting styles. And then we oftentimes will go to the other end of the under end of the spectrum and try to overcorrect. But the thing is, like, I don't know what my kids needed. I didn't know the parent that my kids needed. I was so focused on the parent that I thought I should be. And that was the best I could do then. Now I'm really working on getting curious about what kind of parenting does she want? Does he want? Is going to support her? Is going to support him? And I'm going to miss the mark. We all do. And again, who are we going to be for ourselves in the face of missing the mark? Are we going to perpetuate the shame and create more or exacerbate what's already there? Or are we going to offer ourselves the same grace that our kids deserve and then be able to meet them with that grace and share that grace with them? And so there's always room for improvement, but we can't beat ourselves up on the journey or we're missing the mark there too. So at some point we have to take that beat and say like, okay, who do I want to be for me in this experience? And when I can embody it, integrate it, be it now, then I can share that with whoever I'm with, children, client. I mean, admittedly, I had a client show up at the door right before I was putting the sticker on the door. And guess what? It was my error. I looked at the Voxer and I said, I'll see you at 1 or 12:30, or maybe it was 1. Either way, it was Monday. It was Monday. And so I made an error in judgment there. And I was like, not sure whose error it was. Was it hers or me? A version of me really wanted it to be hers, but there was another version of me that was like, oh, I hope it's mine. Then I can demonstrate what it looks like to make a mistake, and that'll be a teaching moment. And so I was able to do those little course corrections within a 2-minute window. And right before I like logged on to be on this call. And so when we can in real time learn to be in in a way that's really supportive to ourselves and our nervous system and in community and in conversation, I mean, that's a real luxury to be able to live in that way. And so as we were taking a break earlier before we started recording, I went back to check and see, and I was like, oh, yeah, it was mine. And I immediately sent her a message. I was like, it was my error in judgment, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, tell us what well, I have 2 things. Maybe tell me one of your clients that you're most proud of and just what they've been able to accomplish with digging into these tools.
So many come to mind, Melanie.
And you don't have to give names, but
Oh,
just
of
give us
course not. I really honor their privacy. I'm just going to share one that I saw the other day she was working for someone I was coaching at the time that I met her. And I was actually coaching this woman's organization. And so when she decided to go out on her own and create her own thing, she hired me, which I was like, what a boss move to hire your boss's coach. Like, that's cool. That is so cool. And the money thing was still a little wobbly for me. And I was charging more than I had ever charged. And I had raised my rates 3 consecutive times by then. And so there was one time when she had reached out to me and she was really mad at me and was like, you're all about the money. It's really stressful to try to keep creating this. And it was really hard. And I was able to sit and hold all of that and hear her and not take any of it personally and let her see that she created it before and she can create it again, and that she had the power within her to create this. And what did what would she want to do to create it? And how could I support her in that? And I don't remember the entire conversation, but it was one of the most pivotal moments in our coaching container. And she still tells me about it to this day. So cut forward, she went on to create a very successful business, and she's doing the things that she's wanted to do. She's taken some of the greatest leaps. She took this trip to New York, and it was kind of this intuitive thing, like, I'm going to go to New York. And she was like, I want to like manage bands. and I want to go on the road with bands. And while she was in New York, she met a band and she talked to the person who was managing the band. And then she just from there, she started managing bands. Like, it was just so cool to see her like go out and actually apply everything and make the monthly commitment that she had agreed to make, and be able to see how capable she was of receiving the money. And I saw her at an event that I was invited to by another former client of mine who happened to hire her boss's coach also, and they happened to be friends, which is so cool. And I don't even know if they knew each other when this was all going down, but it was just like going to her event, and she's working for this amazing company in town now, and they've been there for a while, and this company like sources women from all over the world who hand create these beautiful fabrics that look like they could be upholstery. They're so gorgeous. And I go there and I see her. But the cool thing is I go there and I see somebody I've never met before, and they're like, "Oh, you're Jessica. It's so nice to meet you." And she tells me her name and she's like, "You're so-and-so's coach." And I was like, "Yeah." Wow. It was a new experience for me. It had never been addressed that way. But then I see her and she's like statuesque, already tall, wearing this most beautiful thing. And it's this fabric. And she looks like an empress. It looks like something an emperor would have worn, but she looked like an empress wearing it. And she was just like, she calls me Jess. And she's just like, "I'm just having these pinch me moments. And I have an opportunity to go to Italy or India next year with this company. And I'm getting to do what I wanted to do when I was working with you. Like, it's all happening. I'm getting to tell women who are making an impact stories. I'm getting to tell these stories of these women. And you could just see it in her, how excited she was that she created the life that she hired me to help her create. And I was able to tell her, like, it was her. Like, people, I can't make anybody do anything. You have to take the steps that are scary and cause you to doubt yourself and show you the capacity that you have and how capable you truly are. And it was one of those pinch me moments for me to see her living her dream that she created, and how she says, because of the money, because of the investment, she valued it. And we value what we pay for, and we pay for what we value. And she said, ever since then, I've never, ever had a moment of scarcity again. My mindset is a mindset of abundance because I invested so much into myself and I valued it so much, and I did the work because it was costing me, and I wasn't going to just take it for granted. And so it's really cool. I think that's one of the greatest success stories.
Wow, that concept of we pay for what we value and we value what we pay for. I could apply that to so many different examples. And thank you for reminding me of that, because I think that I personally needed that little reminder as well. And just that idea that, you have to be so intentional with what you create. And it cannot be the easy way, right? Like, it
No.
can't be easy and fun and stuff, but that's
Yes, it gets to be easy, but you creating the ease of it is what allows
Yeah.
it to be easy, right?
Yeah.
But it's like taking the shortcut and then it taking you twice as long to get there kind of thing, right? Saving the money and then it costing you so much more because you wanted to save a buck. It's like being so intentional is really important.
Well, this has just been a delightful conversation, Jessica. I feel like we could go on for hours because, we've learned so much about ourselves and our similarities and some of the experiences that you and I have experienced together, which is why I think maybe we've been, pulled into this little universe where we are right now experiencing this together.
No doubt about it.
Tell us what you have coming up for people, how we can support you in that, how we can find your book, how we can buy it, because I know people are going to want to buy it. And just for everyone listening, we will absolutely have all the links. We will have the products. We will have, the courses all up on the show notes for you to be able to partake in this, create some ease and the magic that Jessica's talking about. But tell us how we can find you.
So I do take on one-on-one private coaching clients, and I have 2 of those spaces available at the time of this recording. And I have a really cool event coming up at the end of the year. It's going to be online, and it's called End of Year Manifest. And it's something that actually movie producers and directors got together at the end of a show. Everyone would come together and they would take them through to kind of mine the gold of everything that worked and also be able to apply all the wisdom through everything that didn't work. And so I take people through this every year. It's a great thing to go through with your relationships. Businesses can do it quarterly. We can all benefit from it monthly, personally. And every year at the end of the year, I take people through this guided series of questions that really access that higher level of consciousness so they can capitalize on what they created in 2025 and add all the value that they can draw from it and compound that effect into 2026. So it's called End of Year Manifest. And then I have a new membership that's opening up at the beginning of the year. And it's going to be extraordinary. I've been wanting to do it for a really long time. And it's just a place where I get to show up every couple of weeks and do group coaching. So somebody is always going to be able to benefit from being coached, and everyone benefits from watching that person being coached. I'm going to be teaching some master classes there and then offering them things before things go public. So it's still in process. I'm really excited, and just the whole creation process of it is going to be really fun, and it's going to be a very affordable thing. It's kind of geared towards people who want to be in a group dynamic and learn how to create more powerfully and have access to the work without doing one-on-one.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting to me. It sounds, I already want to sign up for it.
It's everyone can benefit from it. And I'm also open to doing it for corporations and doing a more of a private thing than online with everybody. So we can really hone in on the private portion of it in a corporation setting for small businesses or bigger businesses. And if people want to hire me just to take their marriage through it, it's a really powerful practice. And then the book you can get and the journal you can get on Amazon currently. And then they're going to be in some local bookstores around Charleston by the beginning of the year and available in Barnes & Noble soon.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well,
thank you for having me. This has been such a joy, and we just have so much more to share, Melanie, you and I, and it feels like we have some storytelling to do and exchanging our stories too with one another. So I look forward to connecting with you again soon, whether it's here or on a phone call.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for your gift of creation that you've put out there for us all to benefit from.
Thank you. You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
All right, we'll stop there.